Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to the Prabhupada Disciples Association and the Hare Krishna Society, which was started in 2002 and now is continuing to run on. There are lots of organizations, of course, in the world in the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. Extraordinarily, so many. Actually thousands. And there are billions of people on this planet. There's a total of 8 billion people now on this planet. So that's the latest number that they're giving anyway. So we can see that many people are of different religious pursuits, like the Jewish people, the Christian people, the Muslim people, the Hindu people, all with different philosophies and different leaders and different practices. So very complex science of spiritual life that you can explore and become a part of. And we are fortunate that we are in the chain of disciplic succession from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and from our Guru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who presented the Bhagavad-gita and other scriptures to us during his manifested presence. So, for example, there are thousands, millions of slokas of truth, although in the West here, most people have no knowledge of spiritual life. You can discuss almost any political situation, any kind of sports with them, any kind of movie, but as far as it comes to spiritual life, there's very little information for them. They're not studying it all. And Prabhupada explains that there are thousands, millions of slokas that you can study. Millions. For example, the Bhagavad-gita is 700 verses. About 550 are Krishna speaking directly, and that's the essence of the philosophy of spiritual life for people in the Kali Yuga. Then there's the Bhagavatam. There's 18,000 verses or shlokas. Then you have the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is more specific for our following, our principle. There's 11,519 verses. Then there's the Mahabharata. This is, of course, the Bhagavad-gita is just one chapter out of the Mahabharata. And I was looking up the number of verses. Some references are for 100,000 verses. And then there are some statements that 20% has been taken out of the original scripts. So, but for discussion purposes, there are 100,000 verses. 24,000 are concerning the main story between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And there's 76,000 sub-stories within the Mahabharata. Then you have the Itihasas, the Puranas, all the other scriptures that come from India, which is the wealth of the world, is their spiritual potency or history. And I was looking up how many versions of the Gita there are nowadays. Prabhupada mentions at the beginning of his Bhagavad-gita years ago, I don't know if it's still there, that there was something like 700 versions. But there are other people that are saying there's over 2,000 versions of the Bhagavad-gita. And not all of them, of course, accept the Bhagavad-gītā as it is. They think that their Gita is right. They think that their path is right based on the gurus or people that are presenting the guru business for them. So spiritual life can be very complicated, and it's difficult to get a bona fide process. And we are very fortunate because you can judge an action or activity by its result. And this is a very significant point for everybody here that's at the class already or coming as we move forward. You judge an activity by its results. So it's very interesting to note that Prabhupada came from India by himself. The members of the Gaudiya Math had tried to travel overseas. Now, Prabhupada was either going to go to England, like Ban Maharaj did, or by circumstance and Krishna's arrangement, he got a ticket on the Jaladuta through Sumati Maharajji and ended up coming to America with a 1 month visa, visitor's visa. That's all he had. And he was 3 weeks in Butler, Pennsylvania. Then he made his way back to New York and then carried on and managed to get all the extensions and facility that he needed to preach the Krishna Consciousness movement in North America, in America to start. And the result was that he built a movement. So you have to judge the preacher by the result. You can't just say that everyone is bona fide, everyone is authentic in all these different groups, because look what have they done? So Prabhupada did the most amazing thing. And Prabhupada was saying that I was listening to a lecture, everyone. He was saying, some people claim that I've created miracles. So many miracles. And Prabhupada said, the only miracle that I've done is I've presented the philosophy as it is, as I was taught by my spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, the only miracle. And he represented Bhaktisiddhanta's words precisely and concisely for the benefit of humanity. So he took Krishna consciousness out of India and spread it throughout the world through his lectures, through his letters, and through his unedited books, his original books. Some people may criticize us because they say, oh, you're fanatics. All you think is that there's these special books that Prabhupada had during his manifested presence. But there are other editions that have been modified by his disciples, which are better. This is called the change disease. And it's unfortunate, but this is what goes on in every group, every organization, everything that goes on in the material world on this planet has an opinion, just like they have body odor. But the truth is still manifest by the results of the actual bona fide devotee of Krishna. You can only understand Krishna consciousness from a pure devotee. That's the only way. And that's why sometimes people wonder, why do we promote Prabhupada as the bona fide spiritual master? It's because he proved who he was and his potency of being empowered by Krishna and Lord Chaitanya for all of us to see, even in 2023. For all of us to see in 2023. And by the way, in 2 days, it'll be 2024. And we'll keep going as we march forward. And we want to thank everyone for being a part of our group of Prabhupada disciples and members of the Hare Krishna Society. which is here for the preservation of the legacy of our Guru, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're going to read from an excerpt from a room conversation with His Divine Grace in Los Angeles in June 8th, 1976. So he's recalling the history of his travels and his development. So I did not say anything seriously, but perhaps he took it very seriously, Gopal's father. So he might have written to Gopal that Swami Bhaktivedanta wants to go to America. If you sponsor, then he can go. So whatever the correspondence was there between the father and son, I do not know. I simply asked him, why don't you ask your son Gopal to sponsor so that I can go there? I want to preach there. So after some months, 3-4 months, no objection certificate from the Indian Embassy in New York, Gopal sent to me, yes, that he has already sponsored my arrival for 1 month. So all of a sudden I got the paper, no objection, by the certificate by the Indian Embassy. So after so much inquiry, I learned that so much inquiry was done, and so on and so on. Then I tried to take a passport and paper process. So I got the passport. Then I approached that Sumati Maharajji, who I had a chance to meet personally. Yes. She gave me 500 rupees in exchange of my Bhagavad book. So I approached her that give me one ticket. They have got their shipping company, Scindia Navigation. So she said, Swamiji, you are so old. You are taking this sole responsibility. Do you think it is right? No, it is all right, laughs. He laughs. At that time, I was 70 years old, so all the secretary, they thought that Swamiji is going to die there. Anyway, they gave me the ticket, one returned free ticket by their ship. The then arrangement was going on, so there is another process to get a P form, guest. P form? Prabhupada explains. P form sanctioned by the state government. Yes, state government. So it was applied for. It was, no sanction was coming. Then I went to the State Bank of India. The officer, Mr. Bhattacharya. So he told me, Swamiji, you are sponsored by private man, so we cannot accept it. If you are invited by some institution, then we could consider, but you are invited by a private man for 1 month. And after 1 month, if you are in difficulty, and there will be so many obstacles and so on. Well, I have already prepared everything to go. So I said, you, what have you done? No, I've decided not to sanction your P form. No, don't do this. You better send to your superior. It should be done like that. So he took my request and he sent the file to the chief officer of foreign exchange, something like that. Anyway, he is the supreme man in the Bank of India. So I went to see him. So I asked his secretary, you've got such a file. You kindly put Mr., his name was Mr. Rao. I want to see him. So the secretary agreed, and he put the file and put my slip that I wanted to see him. I was waiting. Mr. Rao came personally. He said, Swamiji, I have passed your case. Don't worry, and laughs in this way. So Hari Sori says, he knew you from before or no? Prabhupada said he did not know me. So somebody saw him in Bombay. So he reminded him, I know Swamiji, when he went to USA, somebody was telling me. Hari Sori, he remembered, the name is there. He remembered, after all, he is officer. He knows so many things, so it is a great history. There are 2 days I was attacked in the heart on the ship. So hardship, then you had a dream? Hari Sori, what was that, Prabhupada? Prabhupada laughs. He laughs. The dream was, I must come here. So we'll carry on reading. Tomorrow at Srimad Bhagavatam class, let's now have the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava. And the class on the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, one of 2,000 versions with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu in Twain Harte, California. All glories to the Sankirtan mission.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Musvaparamangsa Paribrajagacārya Sattvaresvara Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Nāvācārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Jai, Jamuna Mai ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki Jai. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Naranarayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gita. As every week when we conduct these classes, we read the introductory verses that were given by Srila Prabhupada in the beginning of his introduction to the Bhagavad-gita, and we ask everyone to join with us. It's on page number 1. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. E Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Ghorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again, welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gita. We are reading from the original 1972 Macmillan edition, the non-adulterated, non-edited version. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Today we will be reading from chapter 10, text number 14 and 15. I will repeat one line of Sanskrit and you may repeat after me if you wish. Sarvame tadritam manye. Sarvame tadritam manye. Yanmam vadasi Keshava. Yanmam vadasi Keshava. Nahite Bhagavan Vyaktim. Nahite Bhagavan Vyaktim. Vidur Deva Nadhanava. Vidur Deva Nadhanava. Sarvam, all. Etat, these. Ritam, truths. Manye, accept. Yat, which. Mam, unto me. Vadasi, you tell. Keshava, O Krishna. Na, never. He, certainly. Te, your. Bhagavan, O personality of Godhead. Vyaktim, revelation. Viduhu, can know. Deva, the demigods. Na, nor. Danava, the demons. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the gods nor demons, O Lord, know thy personality. Purport. Arjuna herein confirms that persons of faithless and demonic nature cannot understand Krishna. He is not even known by the demigods, so what to speak of the so-called scholars of this modern world? By the grace of the Supreme Lord, Arjuna has understood that the supreme truth is Krishna, and that he is the perfect one. One should therefore follow the path of Arjuna. He received the authority of Bhagavad-gītā. As described in the 4th chapter, the parampara system of disciplic succession for the understanding of Bhagavad-gītā was lost, and therefore Krishna re-established that disciplic succession with Arjuna, because he considered Arjuna his intimate friend and a great devotee. Therefore, as stated in our introduction to Gita-upanishad, Bhagavad-gītā should be understood in the parampara system. When the parampara system was lost, Arjuna was again selected to rejuvenate it. The acceptance of Arjuna of all that Krishna says should be emulated. Then we can understand the essence of Bhagavad-gītā, and then only can we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 15. Swayamevatmanatmanam. Swayamevatmanatmanam. Vittatvam purushottama. Vittatvam purushottama. Bhutabhavana bhutesha. Bhutabhavana bhutesha. Deva Deva Jagatpati. Deva Deva Jagatpati. Swayam, personality. Eva, certainly. Atmana, by yourself. Atmanam, yourself. Vitta, no. Tvam, you. Purushottama, O greatest of all persons. Bhuta Bhavana, O origin of everything. Bhutesha, O Lord of everything. Deva Deva, O Lord of all demigods. Jagatpati, O Lord of the entire universe. Translation. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own potencies, O origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, O Supreme Person, Lord of the universe. Purport. The Supreme Lord Krishna can be known by persons who are in a relationship with him through the discharge of devotional service, like Arjuna and his successors. Persons of demonic or atheistic mentality cannot know Krishna. Mental speculation that leads one away from the Supreme Lord is a serious sin, and one who does not know Krishna should not try to comment on Bhagavad-gītā. Bhagavad-gītā is the statement of Krishna, and since it is the science of Krishna, it should be understood from Krishna as Arjuna understood it. It should not be received from atheistic persons. The supreme truth is realized in three aspects: as impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and at last as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So at the last stage of understanding the absolute truth, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A liberated man and even a common man may realize impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma. Yet, they may not understand God's personality from the verses of Bhagavad-gītā, which are being spoken by this person, Krishna. Sometimes, the impersonalists accept Krishna as Bhagavan, or they accept his authority. Yet, many liberated persons cannot understand Krishna as Purushottama, the Supreme Person, the Father of all living entities. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as Purushottama. And if one comes to know him as the Father of all the living entities, still one may not know him as the Supreme Controller. Therefore, he is addressed here as Bhutesha, the Supreme Controller of everyone. And even if one knows Krishna as the Supreme Controller of all living entities, still one may not know that he is the origin of all the demigods. Therefore, he is addressed herein as Deva Deva, the worshipful God of all demigods. And even if one knows him as the worshipful God of all the demigods, one may not know that he is the supreme proprietor of everything. Therefore, he is addressed as Jagatpati. Thus, the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna. And we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sriyurave Namaha Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya prashantaya tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad-vandanam khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Adadhana Strinam Danter Idam Yati Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shad Karumishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. These two verses are part of a very important series of verses in the Bhagavad-gītā. We see in text number 12 and 13 in the purport, in the first paragraph, Prabhupada explains, in these two verses, the Supreme Lord gave a chance to the modern philosopher, for here it is clear that the Supreme is different from the individual soul. Arjuna, after hearing the essential 4 verses of Bhagavad-gita in this chapter, became completely free from all doubts and accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He at once boldly declares, "You are Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So here in this text number 14, Arjuna is continuing his declaration, "Sarvameta dhritam manye yanmam vadasi keshava nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidurdevana dhanavaha." So this is a very important person. But then in the purport, Prabhupada explains, one should therefore follow the path of Arjuna. He received the authority of Bhagavad-gita, as described in the 4th chapter, the Parampara system of disciplic succession for the understanding of Bhagavad-gita was lost. And therefore, Krishna reestablished that disciplic succession with Arjuna because he considered Arjuna his intimate friend and a great devotee. Therefore, as stated in our introduction to Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad-gita should be understood in the Parampara system. When the Parampara system was lost, Arjuna was again selected to regenerate it. So this is a very important point. Why? Because it's not possible to understand the message of Bhagavad-gita unless it is received in bona fide, authorized, disciplic succession. In the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada mentions, unless one hears and receive his understanding of the Supreme Lord from a realized soul, his understanding of the Supreme Lord will be simply foolishness. I'm paraphrasing here. And this is very important. It is not so cheap to understand Krishna and his activities. It is not so cheap to understand the mysteries of spiritual life. There is a bona fide process. There is a systematic process. But the first process is to accept the bona fide realized Acharya. Now, this is very contentious with some people who think that one may not be necessarily a self-realized acharya or liberated soul and still act as acharya. They will squeeze and misinterpret some of Prabhupada's statements to try to present that the person who is less than a liberated acharya, less than a bona fide authorized acharya, can act as acharya. Now, a person may squeeze whatever understanding he wants, but the reality is, unless one follows the proper process recommended by an authority like Prabhupada, there will be defects in his understanding. In 1974 in Honolulu, Hawaii, there was an incident where one devotee, one senior devotee, had misused his independence and basically taken some of the donations that were given to the temple, claiming that these donations were given to him personally. When Srila Prabhupada heard of that incident, basically he called that devotee and started to discuss with him. He heard his arguments, he heard his various points, and then Prabhupada started to become very heavy. Very, very heavy. I was sitting with Guru Kripa near Prabhupada's coffee table, and at one time Prabhupada slammed his foot on the desk and he pointed his finger as the devotee, "Do you accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead?" And Prabhupada stared at him, and the devotee got like completely frozen, totally, completely frozen. And he started to shake and he cried. And Prabhupada says, "Do you accept or not?" And the devotee says, "Yes, Prabhupada." Says, "You pay your obeisances. Everything has all been forgiven, so now you can do some service again." In other words, the beginning of spiritual life comes with this understanding. What Krishna and Arjuna are discussing here, this is very, extremely important. This is the fundamental understanding of Krishna consciousness. What is Krishna's position? Let's see how Arjuna described this. Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. You are the supreme Brahman, the supreme abode. If one accepts this, then his path of understanding is clear. The ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth and the eternal divine person. And here Arjuna takes up a step further. Sarvam etad dhritam manye, that I accept totally as truth all that you have told me. Then he declares, neither the gods nor demons, O Lord, know thy personality. It's interesting to see the progression in Prabhupada's purport of text number 15, where Prabhupada is describing, towards the last section of the purport, he says, therefore Arjuna addresses him as Purushottama. And if one comes to know him as the father of all living entities, still one may not know him as the supreme controller. Therefore, he is addressed here as Bhutesha, the supreme controller of everyone. And even if one knows Krishna as the supreme controller of all living entities, still one may not know that he is the origin of all demigods. Therefore, he is addressed herein as Deva Deva, the worshipful gods of all demigods. And even if one knows him as the worshipful God of all demigods, one may not know that he is the supreme proprietor of everything. Therefore, he is addressed as Jagatpati. Thus, the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna. And we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is. So now this is quite significant. When we look at the progression of how Srila Prabhupada is explaining these various names of Krishna, of how to progress in our understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how to understand Krishna with all of his qualification attributes. Of course, it's not possible for any living beings to understand the absolute. That's why Krishna, one of Krishna's name is Adhokshaja, one who is beyond the purview of the material senses. Srila Prabhupada was always very fond of quoting certain verses from the Padma Purana. He also quotes this verse in one of his purports in the Bhagavad-gītā. Prabhupada explains, Ata Sri Krishna namadi nabhavet grayam indriyayihi, that it is not possible to understand the name, fame, qualities, forms of Krishna with these senses, indriyayihi. These senses mean these material senses. Then how do we understand? Ata Sri Krishna namadi nabhavet grayam indriyayihi. Sevan mukhehi jivadu swayameva spuratyadaha. That the beginning of understanding is to engage the tongue, jivha. The tongue has two basic functions, to taste and to vibrate. One should vibrate sounds about Krishna, and one should taste foodstuff, which only foodstuffs which are offered to Lord Krishna in the proper bona fide way according to the Founder-Ācārya Srila Prabhupada. And this is the way to understand Krishna. This is a very important point, because we see that many times there are practitioners who they commence the path of bhakti yoga, and some way or other, either by wrong association or misfortune or whimsical behavior, or independent whimsical behavior, they gradually stray away from the bona fide path of parampara, the bona fide disciplic succession. So this is very important. There are so many instructions by Srila Prabhupada. Just like once in Australia, Srila Prabhupada was asked, what does that mean in the Bhagavad-gītā when Lord Krishna says that the disciplic succession was broken? What does that practically means? And Prabhupada explains, just like in my presence, you are now following, you're chanting, doing all this, that is following. But after I depart, if you do not follow the standard, that is breaking the succession. Another time, Prabhupada was also asked a question about this topic of breaking the disciplic succession. And Prabhupada replied, when there are false spiritual masters, the disciplic succession is broken. There are numerous explanations from Srila Prabhupada of how he explains, but this is the correct understanding, is to follow diligently and faithfully the instruction of the Acharya. We've often discussed a series of verses, Sanskrit verses from the Mahabharata, where it explained Dharma Satyatvam Nihitam Guhayam, that the truth of Dharma, or spiritual or religious principles, is not easy to understand. Nihitam Guhayam. It means it is hidden. Guha. It is hidden. Then somebody may argue, well, if it's hidden, how to understand? How do we understand? And the answer is given in the next line of this, Mahajanoyena gata sapantaha, by following in the footsteps of great Mahajans, of great transcendental authorities. We have heard from the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 6th canto that when Ajamil, at the time of death, the Yamadutas came to snatch him. And at that time, the Vishnu Dutas, the associates and servants of Lord Vishnu, came to prevent the Yamadutas from taking him. And as part of these discussions, the Yamaduta says, went to Yamaraja, said, are there any personalities greater than us here to adjudicate living entities? And Yamaraja explained, yes, they are great Mahajans, great transcendental personalities. 12 great transcendental personalities are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And also those who follow in the footsteps of those personalities without concocting, without deviating, without manufacturing. Somebody recently asked me, well, why do you keep repeating the same points again and again? And my reply was, well, why did Prabhupada kept repeatedly quoting from that verse from Bhagavad-gītā, Dehinosmin Yata Dehi, chapter 2, text 13, again and again, all the way from 1966 to 1977? If you carefully study, for example, if you go on Vanipedia, this wonderful research site, just like today, yes, last night I was preparing for the class and I put in these words, Sarvameta Dhritam Manye. There were so many different lectures and explanations by Srila Prabhupada, from his books, from his letters, from conversations, from so many examples. And I just got totally mystified by Prabhupada's amazing explanations. I said, how can a person explain one verse from so many different angles of vision? And then I reminded myself, well, this person is not just a scholar. He's not just a professor. He's just an empowered personality. He's a great Mahajan. That's how he's able to explain. He was empowered by Krishna. Just like before the beginning of this class today, Vishwakarma Prabhu was quoting from Prabhupada's encounter with certain government bureaucrats and persons in India, where he had to get certain permission in order to go overseas. Because at that time, at that point in time in 1965, there was numerous controls. It was not like it is today. There was a lot of controls of whether you're an Indian citizen trying to go overseas. You get permission, you had to get certain forms approved, you had to do this, do that. And the first person refused Prabhupada. And Prabhupada insisted. We can see Prabhupada was on a mission. He was on a complete, dedicated mission. No matter what happened. I mean, we look what happened on the boat. Prabhupada suffered 2 heart attacks. This is well known. And then at one point, there was a conversation where Prabhupada explained that he had a dream that the boat was being rowed by the 10 avatars to bring the boat to America. There's another time where Krishna massaged Srila Prabhupada. There's a famous picture where Lord Krishna is massaging Srila Prabhupada on a Jaladuta. In other words, that mission of Srila Prabhupada was desired by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna himself. And these kind of verses here and these explanations by Srila Prabhupada, this is such wonderful amrita, ambrosia, to basically to teach us how to understand the personality of Godhead. It's nice to say God is great, just like our Muslim friends, they say Allahu Akbar. Or the Christians, oh, God is great, give us our daily bread. Well, that's good. That's a nice sentiment. But how great is he? What does he do? What are his name? What are his activities? Where does he live? Does he have any associates? This is described in the Bhagavad-gītā and even in more details in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the great gift that Prabhupada came to give, this transcendental knowledge given in his books and the message of the Maha Mantra. We see in the writings of Narottam Das Thakur and other Vaishnavacharyas, they describe Golokera Premadhana Harinama Samkirtana, that this chanting of Hare Krishna has come down in disciplic succession all the way from Goloka Vrindavana. Somebody recently asked me, well, what's the history of this Hare Krishna mantra? Where does that come from? Well, this is described in the Upanishads, specifically in the Kali Santarana Upanishad, in a conversation between Lord Brahma and Narada Muni, when Narada Muni is asking Lord Brahma, how will living entities be delivered in the age of Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy? And Lord Brahma explains to him this great Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmasha Nasanam Nata Parataropeyaha Sarvavedeshu Drishyate. That these 16 names of Hare Krishna, that these are the authorized, this is the authorized mantra to clear out the contamination, Kali Kalmasha Nasanam, to destroy all the contaminations of the age of Kali. It described there is no superior method of spiritual realization in this. Nata parataropeyaha. Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. All the Vedas recommend this. So we should try to follow that instruction and the example given by Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your explanation of today's verses from the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. And it is a mystery, as you mentioned, for many people on how to understand this philosophy, especially with the proliferation of so many translations of the Bhagavad-gītā, where there are over 2,000 different interpretations. And of course, this goes on in most religious groups. For example, in Christianity, there are thousands of different translations of the Bible. And each group interprets the Bible in order to suit their particular purpose, the leaders of that group, and whatever purpose they have. Like in England, they started the Protestant church there. And the king was having the Bible changed in order to justify him getting married or becoming involved with other women. So many different translations of books, and specifically the Gita, so many versions of the Gita. So no wonder there's so much confusion. It's obvious. And unless one has the association of a bona fide spiritual master, that means someone who is a devotee, a pure devotee of Krishna, a Uttama-ācārya, they will not be able to get the truth about Krishna. That's why it's interesting to note here in this purport in text 15 at the end. Thus, the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna. And we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is, as the Supreme Lord. And see here we have Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. So what is it? What does as it is mean? As Krishna is. As Krishna is. Who is Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Stu Bhagawan Swayam. And I wanted to, Yaśodā Prabhu, because Prabhupada does talk about the different divisions, refer to text 11 of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of Prabhupada's most quoted verses, because really he came from India specifically to destroy impersonalism, because fundamentally most people believe that God is a spirit, or that they are God in the highest level of realization they become God. They're qualitatively one with God or the universe. And so this is the biggest disease. Prabhupada also explained it. This is called spiritual suicide, to think that you're God. So he was constantly nirvasesha sunyavadi paschatya desitarine. So when we offer our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, we're recognizing his great work in his effort to destroy the impersonalist philosophy, which basically, as I mentioned, is spiritual suicide. So, Vedanti tat tatva vidas tatvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti iti bhagavan iti sabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call the non-dual substance of absolute as absolute, who is known as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Purport: the absolute truth is both subject and object, and there is no qualitative difference there. Therefore, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are qualitatively one and the same. The same substance is realized as impersonal Brahman by the students of Upanishads, as localized Paramatma by the Hiranyagarbhas or the yogis, and as Bhagavan by the devotees. In other words, Bhagavan, or the personality of Godhead, is the last word of the absolute truth. Paramatma is the partial representation of the personality of Godhead. And impersonal Brahman is the glowing effulgence of the personality of Godhead as the sun rays are to the sun god. Less intelligent student of either of the above schools sometimes urges in favor of his own respective realization, but those who are perfect seers of the absolute truth know it well that the above three features of the one absolute truth are different perspective views of the seer from different angles of vision. So Prabhupada brought the perfect vision that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the goal of human life is to know him. And therefore, the Bhagavad-gītā is titled Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, so that people will follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is. And before we go to our guest speakers, we're looking today at Nilesh and Kanta Das and Sweta in Ethiopia. We'd like Yaśodā to continue to further illuminate us on these verses.
I just wanted to quote from a little conversation Prabhupada had. This is on a lighter note. This is a little funny, the way that Prabhupada discussed with this gentleman. This was from a conversation on a Chaitanya Charitamrita class on the 27th of April, 1976. April 27th, 1976. Prabhupada, devotees, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Guru Kripa, questions. Srila Prabhupada, anybody who would like to address some questions to His Divine Grace, please raise your hand and stand up. Any questions? Prabhupada, everything is solved? Pushta Krishna, you had a question. Guest, is it possible to see Krishna right now? Prabhupada, why don't you see him in your back? Guest, but can't I just see him? Prabhupada, well, you have no eyes to see. Guest, can I see him within? Prabhupada, yes. Guest, why is it not so easy? Why can't each one of us, Pushta Krishna, why is it so difficult to see Krishna? Why can't each of us see him within? Prabhupada, you have to become qualified. Yes, why do I have to become qualified? Why? Prabhupada, suppose there is a big man before you in some big meeting. Can you talk with him? Yes, why? Prabhupada, no. First of all, answer this. Suppose there's a big meeting going on and some big man is present. Suppose the president is there. Can you talk with him? Why? Why you cannot talk? For talking, we think you require some qualification. It is not that he's so cheap that you talk with him immediately. Atasri Krishna namadina bhavid grayamindriyahi sevanmukehi jivado swayameva spuratyadaha Madhilila 17:136. So if you accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, then you have to qualify yourself to talk to him. Yes, by his grace, Krishna will show himself to you. Prabhupada, yes. If you read Krishna book and if you believe, then you see Krishna. He is not different from the book. Yes, but we could read words till the cows come home. What good is that going to do? Devotee, you have to accept what you read. You can't read with an argumentative attitude, or you can't ask questions in an argumentative attitude. You'll never learn. Yes, I can only accept what I experience. Prabhupada, what is your experience? Yes, my experience is that I've seen Krishna with my own eyes. Prabhupada, you have seen? Yes. Oh, that's very nice. Devotees laugh. Yes, it hasn't been heard. Prabhupada, that's nice. Yes, I haven't had to read any words. Prabhupada, oh, then you are perfect. Devotee, are there any other questions, please? Prabhupada, sit down, you are perfect. Yes, we're all perfect. Prabhupada, yes. Push to Krishna, give a chance to someone else. Yes, I must speak. Push to Krishna, but please, you can speak afterward. Please sit down. Prabhupada, you've already spoken. Don't take the whole time. Let others question. Push to Krishna. Others also want to see Krishna. Are there any other questions, please? Girl, how can we stop speculating? Push to Krishna. How can we stop speculating? Prabhupada, stop speculation. Don't manufacture ideas. You take what Krishna says, then it will automatically stop. Speculation. The question of speculation comes when you do not accept what Krishna says. If you accept Krishna, what Krishna says, then there is no scope of speculation. That is our movement. That, accept Krishna's teaching as it is, don't speculate. Then it is lost. This is our movement. Krishna says that aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate, Bhagavad-gītā 10:8. I am the origin of everything. Everything emanates from me. If you accept, then it is all right. And if you speculate, you can do that. But our movement is to accept Krishna. Brahma means janmadyasya yataha. Bhagavatam 1:1:1, the origin of everything. Here is the person. He says, aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate, Bhagavad-gītā 10:8. Accept it. Very simple thing. You are searching after who is the origin of everything, and Krishna says, I am the origin of everything. So if you accept, your question is solved. If you don't accept, go on speculating. There is no difficulty. Difficulty is when you do not accept Krishna's instruction, then difficulty is. Otherwise, there is no difficulty. And why people do not accept, that is also explained in the Bhagavad-gita. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate, Bhagavad-gita 7:19. After many, many births speculation, when one actually comes to the platform of knowledge, bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So we don't find many such jnanavan. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma. So one who has accepted Vasudeva Krishna as everything, that kind of Mahatma is very, very rare to be found. It is not very ordinary thing. So, very nice conversation with Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, and Prabhupada undertook a great challenge in terms of the process to reveal Krishna to his disciples or their followers, that wanted to take it up, because everyone in the West was fundamentally very distant from spiritual qualification. As you mentioned, Yaśodā, in that reading, that Prabhupada was saying that, what is your qualification? You claim that you've seen God, or you can be that you're Krishna conscious. Well, the qualification is you have to be trained by the process of bhakti yoga, which he introduced, trained. So he introduced these 4 regulator principles: no intoxications, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex. He also taught us how to keep clean. That was also a new thing for us. He taught us how to offer our food and become devotees of the prasadam system of spiritual life, taking the food offered to Krishna, which is prophylactic and antiseptic in our process. And he also introduced the chanting of Hare Krishna to us, kirtan and japa. Now these are the basic principles for purification. And if one follows them throughout his life, he wanted us to commit our lives to this. Just like some of us, on and off, we've been devotees for 50, 55 years, chanting the holy name. Prabhupada would say, give your whole life to this process, chant your rounds. Every day he asked us to chant minimum 16 rounds. Why? Because that's how you become qualified gradually with offenseless chanting. That's gradually how you become qualified to be advanced, somewhat advanced in this process. But if you don't apply these principles in your life, if you don't have any discipline of not only your senses, but of your mind, your speculative mind, if you don't have any discipline, if you have no humility, you're not going to make that much advancement, unfortunately, because it requires qualification. It doesn't matter who you are, Yaśodā Prabhu, as you know. If you want to work, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu worked in a law firm. He was a successful paralegal in large law firms. How did he do that? Well, he had to go to university and study at Ryerson in Toronto and then carry on with his studies. He had to become qualified. It's not possible. So without qualification, don't think that you can make advancement in Krishna consciousness. And if there are defects in your character, they must be removed by your own desire. Now I see that we have, and discipline. Nilesh Dalal, I was going to call upon him to speak and give a few comments on today's verses for us. Nilesh Dalal.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol.
Haribol. Excuse the background sound because I'm at the airport. But anyway, correct me if I'm wrong and if my understanding is correct from all the senior devotees over here, is that because of this connection with Srila Prabhupada and because of our understanding of the importance of this connection, we in this particular group, especially this particular group, have to understand that we are so fortunate to be in this particular group to understand clearly the importance of Srila Prabhupada and our connection to Srila Prabhupada, to the Parampara, to understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I just went to the ISKCON temple in Zurich and took darshan of Shri Jagannath Ji, Baldev Ji, and Subhadra Ji. And it is nice that they do such nice seva of the deities, But the digression which they do by not accepting Srila Prabhupada and his original transcript, his unchanged books, which makes a huge difference
Yes.
in our connection with Krishna. Our connection with Krishna through Srila Prabhupada has to be pure. The tendency of modern day ISKCON to quote Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati scriptures, to quote Bhakti Vinod Thakur scriptures, to quote Gita Govinda and many other things. We need to understand that Manushanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye. There are so many people who are on this path of transcendental acquisition, but only those who will stick to this path by complete surrender, meaning we will be lured by different programs held by different temples and different kirtan artists who appease us in our what you call senses, who sing very well and who does kirtan so well. But to stick to the pure word, to stick to Srila Prabhupada, despite us being alienated, despite us being singled out, despite us not having the association which we yearn, but we do stick to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, and his original words will keep us connected to Krishna. Many a times people want to concentrate on what about the Bhagavatam which are left unfinished, the 11th canto and the 12th canto. Prabhupada has said us very clearly that I have given you everything you need to go back to Godhead.
Yes.
So if Krishna, who is the what you call the controller or the Maya Dakshina Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam, everything which is happening in this material world is happening under his adhyakshina, under his superintendence. That means if he chose that we need to have only 10 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is enough, that is a discount given to us. That is a discount given to us, that you don't need to know things which are in the 11th and the 12th canto if you truly want to follow Srila Prabhupada and all that he has said, that everything what you need is in the books, just to go back to Godhead. And if you were to stick to this, stick to his purity, and despite our what you call tribulations and problems and our desire to associate with more people, we need to still stick to the people who focus on Prabhupada being in the center. And I just hope, and sometimes there is anger in my voice also, is because anger and frustration is because you see that this opportunity can be given to so many people, so many things. You go to any city in the world, any major city in the world, you may find an ISKCON temple over there, but they are not following the original books, the original diktats, the original instructions. And it is such a missed opportunity. It is so frustrating, and so it sometimes angers me also. And I don't know whether this reaction of mine is what you call correct, or it is understandable, or what should be my attitude towards this whole part.
Okay, I'll give a quick answer, and then I'd like Yaśodā to speak. I think many of us feel disappointed to see the way things are. Yes, it's quite normal. For example, in Toronto, we bought one of the largest buildings in North America for Prabhupada. He called it a topmost triumph. And now, due to whimsical behavior of the leader there or leaders there, things are in a dismal state. Now, it goes from a state of tremendous success to a state of complete dismantling. So, Prabhu, remember this, as you know anyway, and you spoke so nicely there. Thank you very much. It was excellent. Prabhupada told us, and I've never really understood it as well as I am today, which is December 30th, 2023, that my temples may fail, but his books will not, because this is a transcendental movement. So Guru Tattva, Krishna Tattva, is the essence of this yoga process, not the buildings. These buildings, look at what happened to the Gaudiya Math. They had 60 temples. They're in dispute. It's all segregated. So ISKCON has become the Gaudiya Math Part 2. And unfortunately, this is the reality. And I'm also saying this to you, Prabhu, because we're seeing a lot of discussion about the passing of some of these elected gurus in the ISKCON movement. What will happen to their cults when they're gone? Well, think about it. Look how difficult it is with Prabhupada's departure. And then in the future, what about 3 generations from now? Are these people going to look at how it's changed now? Everyone's got long hair. Prabhupada wanted everyone to shave their head. Everyone has long hair. They have changed the kirtan. They've changed the method of prasadam offering. They've changed the guru system. They've changed the system of management. So this change disease is all pervasive. But as long as we maintain this focus with our group, and I wrote to Yaśodā this morning, that's our main goal, is to protect the legacy of our guru. That's our mission. And we're on it, believe me. We are on that mission, and we're not jumping off. So we're glad you're with us very much, and all the people around the world that are with us, either coming to the classes online on the Hare Krishna Society YouTube page. Please subscribe to that. And if it's possible, you can come to our regular meetings on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and carry on with the process in your own life. Then we're all together, and there's hope for everyone. Yaśodā, please.
With regards to the Bhagavatam 11th and 12th canto, it was well known to the leaders and managers in this movement that Prabhupada had ordered and requested Prajimna Prabhu, Panditji, Prabhupada's personal Sanskrit editor, to finish the translation. The GBC in 1978, once they saw that he raised numerous questions about their budding system, their illegal, unauthorized division of the assets of ISKCON, and all of their claims to be zonal acharyas and everything else, all the madness that went on, that is still going on many levels, they basically decided they were going to take the service away from him. They basically ran him out of the society. They engaged in a systematic campaign of character assassination, and then they gave the service to another person in ISKCON. Prajimna was the most qualified. Prabhupada gave Prajimna that service. They took it away from him. So whatever translation they did is tinted by major Vaishnava aparad of insulting and depriving this devotee of his service, and many other devotees of their services. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you. Cannot hear you.
Okay.
Cannot hear you.
Sorry about that. I took my sound off. I muted it while everyone was speaking.
Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt,
Please.
but I was wondering what would be Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu's viewpoint on people quoting literature from Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, Gita Govinda, Bhaktivedanta Thakur. When I asked the simple question is, do you have you understood everything what Srila Prabhupada has left us? Have you completely practiced and understood whatever Srila Prabhupada has given us, that we need to go even to any other kind of a literature, even though it may be in Vaishnava Parampara?
Well, the point is, there was a conversation about this where I believe Achyutananda and some of the devotees asked Prabhupada whether it was authorized to read the writings and purports of the other acharyas. Some people said, no, you can't do that. And Prabhupada said, no, I never said that. But first, read what you've been given. Prabhupada has written all these books, and it's quite considerate. By 1977, we had the Bhagavatam up till the 10th canto, the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, And although at that time we didn't have the sophistication that's available today with all the lectures, the conversation, everything else, I mean, there's such a tremendous amount of information. The first thing to do is to assimilate what we've been given, and that was basically Prabhupada's message. It's not, as for example, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada mentioned at one point that devotees should read one of these books of Sanatana Goswami. Another place, Prabhupada says, if one is interested to learn more about Madhvacharya, one should read the biography of Madhvacharya, but Prabhupada didn't give that biography. So there is numerous instructions, but first of all, people should read read and study Prabhupada's books. What we see is people go to other books, I don't know, for whatever reasons, and then they get confused. They get these ideas in their heads that they've become big pundits and big scholars. In 1973, there was a letter. You can find this letter to Prabhupada addressed to Guru Kripa and myself. It says, there's no need of whatsoever for outside instruction with regards to the teachings of Bhaktivedanta Thakur. And Prabhupada said, just focused on our books. I'm paraphrasing here. So what you say is correct, but the problem is once that disease starts in the society, it's very difficult to stop. Very difficult. Because what they do is they minimize Prabhupada's books to go on to all of these other books. And that's the problem. Oh, very nice.
Yes, Prabhuji, the real symptom over here is for Pratishta. Pratishta means a self-importance. That, oh, you read Srila Prabhupada's books, but I have read this book, and I have read that book, and this is what such and such Acharya says, and this is what such and... So, for a normal, mundane person, it is, oh, this person is so knowledgeable. And I was entrapped into one such enamored personality who would do this on a regular basis. And then after associating with certain people, I realized that, no, we need to stick to Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Have I understood everything and anything which Prabhupada has written? No. Let me first finish that part. And if so desired, because again, Krishna is the Adhyakshana, Maya Adhyakshana Prakriti. If he wanted me to have the understanding of 11th and 12th canto, he would have arranged it for me. But he chose to not to do so by giving me a discount and by letting Prabhupada tell us that whatever I have given you is enough for you to go back to God. So it is like a discount. Why would I want to discount the discount? You know? So this pratishta, this self-importance, this material desires to kind of not be a surrendered soul and not to be dasanu das, be absolutely humble, is one of the issues over here.
Yes, well spoken, by the way, very well spoken and precise, very precise in your explanation. And I see that our Vinkat brought up a verse on the screen. Maybe you could read that for us, Prabhu. I thought that was very well researched. Just read that. Whatever.
This is the letter that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu was referring to. It's a letter from Srila Prabhupada to Guru Kripa and Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu's in 1973. So
just read.
Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu wants to read it, or
go ahead.
Whatever is to be learned of the teachings of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur can be learned from our books. There is no need whatsoever for any outside instruction. So I hope that you have understood these matters, and I pray to Krishna always for your protection and advancement in Krishna consciousness. The context of this letter is we had been seeing the son of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Lalit Prasad Thakur, in Birnagar, India, the birthplace of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and taking instructions from him, because at one point Prabhupada said that we could go there. What we did not know in the meantime is Prabhupada had canceled that instruction, canceled that allowance, and he gave that subsequent instruction not to go there. So this was the letter that we received from Prabhupada, and it's a very good instruction that applies to all disciples. Stick to Srila Prabhupada, study his books. And if somebody is so inclined and capable, they can study Sanskrit or learn or basically there are so many prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar Devotion. One can recite prayers, praise Krishna, study these books. Otherwise, I mean, my question is, why are they going to all these literatures and quoting this and all these lectures? What is the real aim here? What is the real goal? Why not stick to Srila Prabhupada? Just like I was giving, for example, today, if you go on Vanipedia, that very nice website, and you put these verses we've been reading today, you're going to get dozens and dozens of lectures by Srila Prabhupada on that same verse. It would take hours and hours and hours to study all of these explanations from Prabhupada. Why not do it this way? The Prabhupada way, the bona fide way, the safe way. That's all we can do. Just stick to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet and instruction.
Okay, we're moving to the end of the program, but we have Damini Sidwani, and I believe you're in Africa.
No, I'm in Texas, America.
Oh, Texas.
Very nice.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, Dharma Bhavan Prabhu knows me. We meet often.
Dharma Bhavana.
Yeah, yeah. I go to. He comes to the lecture. Like one devotee have organized lectures here on Sundays, and many times Dharma Bhavan comes there, and then he gives us lectures. And we also do events, and then they join us. Mataji and Prabhu joins us.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have a question?
Yes, Prabhu. So my question is, so I'm originally from, I'm Hindu, but I'm born in Pakistan. And we migrated in 1993 in India. When we migrated in India, I was 11, and that's when I found a Prabhu. His name is Madhusudan Prabhu. And he was the one who also originally came from Pakistan a few years before us. But then he was a big devotee of Krishna Consciousness. And back then he didn't have enough money. So he used to do kirtan in his house, sometimes in his terrace, sometimes, some other people's terrace here and there. And so our community, we originally are from Pakistan. We had been like meat eaters, and like our fathers, we have always seen them, drinking alcohol and everything. But then this Prabhu has been into Krishna consciousness for almost 40 years now. And because of him, a lot of people in my community have changed. So many people stop eating meat. Everybody have now Krishna and Radharani deity in their houses. They do worship. They do boga offering 3 times. And then over these 40 years, he is able to build a big ashram in a small suburb in Ulhasnagar, which is like 2 hours away from Mumbai. But my question is, I did not know. Honestly, I'm so ignorant that I found out who's Prabhupada just 2 years ago. Even though I had been following this Prabhu when I was 11, I had been chanting, and I was into Krishna Bhakti, but I didn't know who's Prabhupada. But recently I found out who's Prabhupada and everything. But now this time when I went India, I was surprised to know that there were, in that big ashram they built, there were 2 deities. One is Prabhupada, and next to him was deity of Bhaktipada. And so according to this Prabhu, his guru is Bhaktipada, and when they do Guru Aarti, they do first Guru Aarti for Bhaktipada, and then they say for Prabhupada. And then I also recently found out everything about Bhaktipada. So now I'm so confused, because one thing I know is that this man is a gentleman. He spent his whole life in Bhakti, bringing people into Bhakti. So many people stop eating bad things because of him. So then is it still, and all my family still goes there because they are all in India, and that's the only place in the small town, Ulhasnagar, that's the only Krishna ashram we have, and everybody goes there. But I have seen only beautiful, positive changes in the lives of my family. Like every have nice deity in their house, everybody does so much kirtan. So is it still wrong or it is right? I'm just so confused.
Well, I'm going to have Yaśodā-nandana respond, but I'll make a quick comment. There is it's like a surgeon. A surgeon knows how to precisely operate on the patient, and then you get cured of the material disease. So these people are, getting some so-called benefit, but the real solution is to have the connection with the pure devotee. This is the secret of the mystery of Krishna consciousness. So you should just continue on presenting Prabhupada as the bona fide Acharya and connecting people to his unedited books, and have them carry on and expand and hopefully understand properly our philosophy. Yaśodā-nandana, please.
Well, I can't really add too many more instructions to what you just said. Just like we discussed in the class today, Mahajanoni Nagiyana Gata Sapanta, one should follow in the footsteps of great Mahajans. And we always encourage devotees to basically follow Prabhupada. And we are quite aware of the different splits and different divisions in the Krishna movement on account of that unauthorized guru system. One of the reasons why Prabhupada only designated officiating representative is to prevent a repeat of what took place in the Gaudiya Math in 1937. He had no intention of creating another Gaudiya Math Part 2. He had no desire to do that. But unfortunately, after his disappearance, many persons interpreted his words in various ways to fulfill their personal ambitions. Now, I don't know how well you know the history of this Bhaktipad. Incidentally, as a point of information for the record, Prabhupada never gave any pod title to any of his disciples. This was a post-1977 concoction, but let it that as it may be. If devotees focus on Prabhupada and follow his instruction in his original books without changes, it's guaranteed success. Because otherwise, eventually, you may think you're following Prabhupada. If you follow somebody who deviates from Prabhupada, the result will be different. That's all I could say for now. You can also go to our website. We have many articles where we discuss these points, and we'll leave it at that for now. Hare Krishna.
Fascinating, very fascinating, because we all have had a direct experience in our devotional career with Keith Ham. And it's unfortunate that the people that are preaching about him or glorifying him are so misled, because when you look historically at his career, it was quite tragic, let's say, not to minimize it, very tragic, not only for him, but for all the people in West Virginia that were involved with him. Terrible, terrible history. So just do the best you can.
Prabhu, I heard that. My only last point is that
go ahead, please.
All the people are still ignorant. Like a lot of people in my community, also they are also not too much educated. They don't really know much. All they know is that their guru, who's Madhusudan Prabhuji, and Bhaktivedanta is his guru. And so all I see is a lot of devotion for Krishna in their heart, and they do a lot more service and stuff for Krishna than many people I see here doing. And so in what I think is, at the end, doesn't Krishna needs that love and the devotional service, and maybe he will still show them a way, even because they're just so ignorant, they just don't know the truth or facts.
Well, let them keep going, and you become an instrument to help them, because there's no question Prabhupada lives in his Vani incarnation, and he's still with us, all of us, whether it's myself or Yaśodā or anyone else on this call or following Prabhupada, and they'll get the maximum benefit when they take it up properly. This is not, we're not going to discuss it right now because we're at the end of the program. We have one other person that wants to speak, but if at any time you do want to reach us, we'd be happy to discuss it with you and go over it in detail, answer any questions you have on these matters. We're just a little jammed for time. Nilesh, what's the last comment before we
Hare
go
Krishna.
to please? Nilesh?
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can, sir.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. This is classic. This Mataji is a classic example of when people are introduced to the movement, they
Yes.
want to know the distinction between us and the mainstream movement. I would just tell one thing, Mataji, is that you have traversed a lot of areas. Say, suppose I'm a travel agent, and so is Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, who is a travel agent. And you want to travel from Pakistan to India to, say, Texas. I'm a travel agent who can help you up to India. But Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is a travel agent who can help you all the way to Texas. Now, if I brought you from Pakistan to India, have I made progress for you? Yes, you have made progress. You have taken care of the first leg of your journey. But have I taken you all the way to your destination? No. Why? Because I don't have the qualification. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has the qualification to take you all the way to Texas. This is the distinction. What Prabhupada can do for you and what intermediaries are trying to tell you that you cannot reach Prabhupada.
Okay. Thank you very much.
When you're succumbing to a different
some
thought
trouble
process.
with your
But if
audio.
you truly believe that Srila Prabhupada can take you all the way. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Next time we'll continue the conversation, but we're going to end up the program because it is 11:44. But thank you, everyone, for your participation today. Let's go to the kirtan. Everyone chant along with the Hare Krishna mantra and come back tomorrow at 10 a.m. We have Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion, and we'll try to cover some of these topics again tomorrow with all of you wonderful, sincere devotees of Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan movement.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to the assembled devotees. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. We'll see everyone tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Srimad Bhagavatam class. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.